Hello everyone, and welcome to rchelp.com. I'm Tony, and today we're going to be programming the iKon gyro. I've had a lot of requests for the iKon gyro, and I'm finally getting to it. A year later, finally getting to the iKon gyro. I do have the iKon mounted on my 450. Yeah, I still got the Air 7200 up there because it just works. But the iKon is supposed to be better, and we're going to find out. As you can see, I've already got both of my satellites in. I got one satellite here, and then I got one satellite over here. I do have enough room right up here at front to plug in my USB cable. That way we can connect to the computer, because on the iKon you have to connect it to your computer in order to update everything. Alright, so the first thing we got to do is we have to put a model in our radio for this helicopter and the iKon. It doesn't matter what radio you have. You can have a 6 channel, 7 channel, 8 channel, 9 channel, 10, 18. It doesn't matter. They all work with the iKon. I'm running the DX9. I've already got my model in here. It's set on helicopter. It's set on 1 servo 90 degree, or as this one says, just normal. I went into my flight mode and I put switch 1 as my idle up switch, and then I put the hold switch as my hold switch. You want to turn both of them on. Then I went down into my warnings and I set it to where it'll throw me a warning if my hold mode is off. I want my hold to be on whenever I turn this radio on. If I turn the hold off and I turn it on, you have to turn that hold mode on before it'll actually initialize. I love that feature. So now that we have it turned on, we have our model in here. I've actually named it RCH450 iKon because I have the RCH450BX. Now all we got to do is go in and bind the radio to the receivers. Alright, so binding it up is just like binding any other helicopter. You'll take your bind plug, stick it into your iKon, plug your battery into your ESC, and the receivers should start rapidly flashing. Now in my DX9, I've actually got a menu that says bind, and I just go in there and I select bind, I hit the button, and it does everything for me. For you DX6i, DX7S, DX8 guys, you'll shut your radio off. When you're on the model you want to be on, you'll push the bind button up here, and then you'll turn the radio on while you're holding that bind button, and it'll bind it up. Like I say, it's the same for every helicopter. Plug the bind plug in, plug your ESC and battery in, bind as usual. You know, it's all in your manual for your radio. So I'm going to go ahead and bind this thing up real quick. And for those of y'all that have bad eyesight like me, the bind port is the very top port right there. Alright, as you can see, we got a rapid flashing light there, and we have a rapid flashing light over here. So now, I'm just going to go in, I'm going to select bind, and it's going to bind it up. Push the button.
Binding. DSMX 22 milliseconds. Bind complete.
And that's all it takes to bind it up. Now you may have heard I'm on 22 milliseconds. I can actually change that to 11 milliseconds because I am running digital servos. Alright, now that we got our bind done, go ahead and pull out our bind plug. Alright, we'll go ahead and just unplug the battery. Let that thing be quiet for a minute. Alright, now we need to get the cable to come with the iKon. That way we can connect the iKon to the computer and set it up. Now to get the software, you can go directly over to iKon and download it from their website, or I've actually got a copy. If you click on the link down in the description, click on that link, it'll take you to an article. In there I've got a link to the software that you can download straight off of RC Help. So go ahead and plug everything up, take the other end, plug it into the iKon. So I've already got my radio on. We'll go ahead and plug the ESC in. Alright, so once you get your iKon installed, it's going to come up and it's going to tell you if you have a firmware update available. If you do, go ahead and click the OK button, make a backup of the firmware you have, and then go ahead and update your gyro to the latest version. They obviously know what they're doing because these are some of the most stable gyros that are out there. I do have to apologize for the beeping. My ESC is not seeing a throttle signal right now. So once we get this set up, that beeping will stop. Again, I apologize. It's just one of them things. Alright, so here on the computer you can see that I've already got it open and it's telling me the firmware version you are running is not currently the recommended one. Would you like to update your unit? Like I say, I do. And for those of y'all that need a URL, right here, ikonflybarless.com/downloads.php. Go in there and click this button right here to download the latest version of the software. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and then click OK. This is basically saying you should save your configuration. Click OK. I'll just go ahead and do an iKon base file. Alright, we're going to go ahead and go to the 13.050. Click OK. And then it'll update the gyro. Now Now that the beeping stopped, basically what's happened is it's installing the firmware onto the gyro. Thankfully the beeping has stopped. That's annoying. Alright, so as you can see, it says new firmware OK. So we'll click OK, and again the beeping's back. Now we've got it all ready to go. The first page is going to be your general instructions, kind of telling you how everything works. You're going to want to read this before you ever connect it up. So we'll go over here. We're on DSMX receiver, perfect. Go to the next one. Basically what this is saying is do not connect to battery unit, could be permanently damaged. And the bind plug, don't connect your battery in that. As you can see here, you have servo 1, servo 2, and servo 3. It's no longer numbered aileron, elevator, and pitch. What you're going to do, number 1 servo is, depending on what your swash is, you want to look for your elevator. If the elevator is in front, like the Nitro 600s, it's going to be servo 1. If it's in the back, it's going to be servo 2. So on my configuration, I want servo 1 to be the aileron. Alright, once you have all your servos hooked up, if you're running a line 450, make sure aileron is number 1, elevator is number 2, and then number 3 is going to be your pitch. Plug your ESC or your throttle servo here into the throttle, and then of course plug your tail servo into the tail port. Move on to the next one. Alright, now in here what we're going to do is we're going to take this and let's say the aileron, we're going to hold full right, and as you can see I'm only getting 70%. What we need to do is go into our servo menu and adjust the travel settings. So on the aileron, I'll hold it full right. You can see I'm getting 70%. And I'll just up that until it says 100% and it'll turn green. Alright, now we'll hold it left and do the same thing. Alright, now we'll go over to the elevator. Hold up elevator. And then down elevator. Now in here, I'm pulling back on the stick, which should be nose up. As you can see, it's going nose down. So we need to go in and we need to reverse the elevator channel. So when I pull the stick down, as you can see, the nose goes up. Push it forward, the nose goes down. Right should be right, left should be left. Alright, and your pitch and your throttle, again, you want to change each one of them to be 100%, even though they are mixed together. First one we're going to do is throttle. Go ahead and raise that one up. Alright, go to full closed. Alright, now as you heard right there, it went ahead and initialized. The reason why, it wasn't seeing a full low signal. This ESC will not initialize until it sees a low throttle signal. It's just going to sit there and beep at you. In this menu is where you're going to go in. You're going to lower that throttle down. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to lower the throttle all the way down, and then you're going to roll it, and it's going to raise your value, but you're going to see that slider going more to the left until you see negative 100% on the program. Once that happens, it's peaceful. It gets quiet again. Thank you. Alright, back down to the computer. Now that we got it to where the ESC is initialized, one, guys, you should really unplug your motors, but I'm going to turn my throttle hold on. Now, as you can see, we're doing the pitch. Go over to pitch in my radio, and we're just going to turn that one up to 100%. Alright, go full negative, and raise that one up to 100%. Alright, now I need to go in and I need to do the rudder. Mine's binding real bad. We're going to take care of that in another menu, but I'm going to have to do this pretty quick, so I've already selected my rudder, and I'm just going to get it done. Alright, there's 100% on left. As you saw, it went right. In my transmitter, the DX9, it's showing 136. So what I'm going to do is so I don't keep binding it up, I'm going to go to 136% in my radio, and then I'm going to check nose right. It's going to negative 99. There's 101. There's 100. 100, 100. That's absolutely perfect right there. Now what we need to do is we need to go in here to the gain, and we need to set our gain to 45%. right over here it tells you where you need to put everything in here. Set the gyro gain from your transmitter so that it shows a value of 45% on the panel. So I'll go down into my gyro menu and I'll go ahead and I'll put that on switch D, which is the gyro on the DX9, or the switch that I want it on. Position 0 on my DX9 is where I'm going to put my heading hole. So I'll go ahead and I'll just start raising that value. And as you can see right over here, it starts going up. We want a 45% in here. Alright, 45% on my radio is actually 57.5%. As you can see, we got a green bar. If I flip my switch, which is 0, it goes down and it turns red. Now we're in rate mode. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go down and I'm going to put a negative value in position 2. That way we have a rate mode in there. We're going to go negative 57.5. Now as you can see, it's saying 45%, but it's in rate mode. We got a red bar. Alright, so the values in my radio are position 0, 57.5, position 1 at 0, which basically bypasses the tail gyro, and then position 2, which is negative 57.5, so that I can have a rate mode, so that I can straighten them blades out, or I can bring it up into a hover, flip it into rate mode, and see if it's going to wander off anywhere. If it is, I know I need to adjust my tail linkage rod. Alright, right down here, you see your current setup mode. What I did is I took switch E on my DX9, which is actually the governor switch on like the DX8, DX7S, and I set it up in the governor menu with negative 100% on position 0, which is going to give us setup 1, 0% on position 1, which is going to give us setup 2, and then positive 100% on position 2 to give us setup number 3. What that's going to do is, we're going to kind of jump ahead just so I can show you here. As you can see, we got a green bar down here on setup 3. I'll flip it up to position 2, or the middle position, we go to setup 2. Flip it all the way up, we go to setup 1. It's on auxiliary 2 is the channel you want to be on. I use my governor menu because I'm not going to use a governor in this 450 helicopter, so I'm going to use this menu. It makes it real easy. It's real easy to get to, so that we can do the beginner, the sport, the 3D, the extreme. We can use the governor, we could use the auto level, and we can try these different settings out without them being permanent and having to come back inside and reprogram the gyro. Alright, so now that we're in here, we're going to go ahead and just check everything again. Aileron left, aileron right, 100% on both. Elevator nose down, elevator nose up. Tail nose left, tail nose right. That one's backwards, so I need to go back into that and reverse the rudder. And then the throttle and pitch will go up, 101, 100%, all the way down, negative 100 and 0%. That's absolutely perfect. The pitch is a little low. So because of that, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to change that pitch to 100%. Alright, now we got 100 and 0 on both of them. Everything is absolutely perfect. Everything's working the way it should. My setup changes with my switch. Now we're ready to move on. Alright, on the cyclic servos, I'm running a high-end digital servo at 200 Hertz. On my tail, I'm actually running a 1520 US with 333 Hertz. What we can do here is we can go up into the advanced screen, go to servos, and in here what we can do is we can verify that all my servos are on 1520 US, and they are. Go back in here. I set mine at 333 Hertz. I know the Alliance tail servo can handle that. 200 Hertz on the cyclic is where I like to run. I don't want them to get too hot. Now we'll come in and we'll check the swash plate. On this one, I've got a servo 2 as my elevator, so we need to select this one. I had this icon on my 600 where the elevator was actually in front. So we'll select that one, and then we'll go into here. Now what we need to do is we need to take the head off the helicopter and completely level that swash plate. So in this menu, basically it's going to be like a normal head setup. I do have to thank a member on the forum for bringing it to my attention. I did not say anything about, leveling your swash, nutting the servo arms. Whenever I did the BX videos, you have to do that in this menu. Alright, in this menu, basically what you want to do is you need to take the head off the helicopter, get you a swash leveling tool, or come over to the website in that little search box and put in level swash zip tie. What that's going to do is it's going to bring up a video on how to level your swash with a zip tie. It's free, even though these are only about $5. It's completely free if you have zip ties on hand. If you don't, you're still going to spend $5. But what you need to do is you need to go in, completely level your swash. You need to make sure your servo arms are 90 degrees to the links. Once that's done, put your blades back on, and you want to make sure you have 0 pitch at mid-stick. If you don't have 0 pitch at mid-stick, something's wrong in your setup somewhere. You need 0 pitch at mid-stick. So I'm going to dive down, I'm going to get this head set up, and then we'll continue on. Alright, so as you can see right here, we've got a servo reverse. We want to go in and we want to click that until all of our controls move the way it should. Whenever you go up elevator, it should tilt the swash forward. Left aileron should tilt the swash left. And whenever you go up on the throttle, it should raise your swash if you have an online helicopter. If you have a funky one that actually takes a swash down to get positive pitch, then obviously you want to do it that way. So go ahead, check all your servos, and then put your radio at mid-stick. Make sure that your radio has a linear pitch curve set into it. What it's going to do is, I'll kind of bring this back here to where you can see it. I'm going to, the throttle's all the way down. I'm going to come up slowly, and it's going to jump, and it's going to stop right there. There's a deadband right here. What that's going to do is it gives you that centering. That way you can get your zero pitch. And now, back to setting up the head. Alright, now that you've got the swash completely level, make sure that all your arms are 90 degrees. You know, I can't stress this enough. On these flybarless heads, it is so easy to set these up compared to a flybar head. Once it's level, if your arms are 90 degrees to the link, you're going to have exact even throw up and down, and all you got to do is set zero pitch at mid-stick, and you're going to get perfect positive and negative pitch. Now I understand, on these links, it's one turn, not a half a turn like those piece of crap Chinese links. But you guys can get it close. If it's within a half a degree, it's perfect. I'm telling you, you won't even notice the difference when you're out there in the air. I'm going to stick the head back on here. We're going to get back to some more work. Alright, now that we got the head back on, now we need to get our pitch gauge and go in and set zero pitch. If you're using a digital pitch gauge, guys, come on to the forum, watch that video. These have to be calibrated, and then you cannot move the orientation of where this thing is. If you calibrate it on the front of the helicopter with it facing you like this, you have to pull it off that blade, spin the head around, put it back on. You can't check the sides, you can't go around and check the back. It has to only be in the front because it's the only place this thing is calibrated. So we got to set zero pitch, and then we got to set our full positive and full negative pitch. Alright, once you have your mid stick set up and you're as close to zero as you can possibly get, now we need to go in, put it on there, raise our stick all the way up, and we need to set our full pitch to 12 degrees. I always run 12. If you want to run 10, you can't. It's going to take a lot of collective input to keep it up in the air. Or, I mean, if you guys want 13, 14 degrees, you can do that too. Alright, so once you went in and you checked your full positive pitch, now you want to go in and check your full negative pitch. If you had 12 degrees in your full positive and you got 12.5 on your full negative, you can call it good. Your swash plate is just a little bit too low. With that negative number being larger, it's a little bit too low. You can raise it up a few clicks, go in, reset your mid stick, and then go through it all over again to get a perfect head setup. Work with this as much as you can, guys. The more time you put in this head, the better this thing's going to fly. Alright, now on the cyclic, with the digital pitch gauge, I'm checking it to where I can only check the aileron. What you want to do is you want to set it up with 10 degrees of deflection on your cyclic. Alright, so in here, I've got 7.2, 7.3 degrees. I'll go ahead, click the positive, and right there I've got 10.1 degrees. To double check this, you can go back the other way. And right there, I've got 9.8 degrees. That is really, really close. Alright, once you have this menu set up, now we're going to go into the next menu. This is going to be your tail setup. You have two ways of doing a gyro. On your proportional gain, you can set it in your transmitter or you can set it in the software. I prefer it to be in my transmitter, that way I can make changes on the fly. Alright, in here, if you move your stick and your tail goes backwards, remember, the trailing edge should point in the same direction that you're moving that stick. If it's backwards, all you got to do is click your servo reverse. Now we need to go in and we need to set the travel adjustments. I know I've got to go way down on my tail. Right there, the binding stopped. Now we get to go to the other side and do the same thing. So now whenever I move my tail, there's no binding. I'm going to take these blades and I'm going to fold them down towards the trailing edge of the blade. That way you guys can see. I'm going to go stick right, and these blades should point that way. If I go stick right, they point to the right. Stick left, they point to the left. This trailing edge, the way you can tell the trailing edge is you've got this long area right here. This is going to be your trailing edge. Point it down just like this. Very easy. Right, left, right, left. I know it's backwards to y'all. It's correct to me, I promise. Now you can also do your pre-compensation in here, and if you know which way your head rotates, which mine's clockwise, you can actually do a pitch pre-comp and a cyclic pre-comp. I don't want either one of them. I'm gonna see how this thing flies bone stock. All right, the next menu is the orientation of your iKon unit. Now, as you remember, I've actually got mine on the side right here. The wires are facing back, the antenna wires are facing down. We need to look for that in the menu. That way we can get all of our correction directions correct. Now in mine, I'm right down here, governor port up, wires back. That is exactly how mine is. So now what we need to do is take our helicopter and we're gonna tilt it forward and tilt it back. That swash plate should try to stay level. As you can see, tilt forward, tilt back. Now check our aileron. We tilt right, it should go left, and try to keep that swash plate perfectly level. Now in this menu, there is a button down here. If you look right here, it says set level. Guys, unless you have a bubble level on your main shaft, on the main shaft, do not touch this button. Because if you set the level with it on an unlevel surface, and you go and you flip that flight mode and you go into one that has self-level on it, if it's not level, it's going to think it's level and it's going to go back like this and it's just going to keep going. Unfortunately, there was a member on the forum, he didn't have his set quite right and it actually went out of control and hit his house. Hundreds of dollars worth of damage, not only in the helicopter, but also his house. Get a bubble level, check that main shaft, but make sure that that main shaft is perfectly straight up and down. If it's not, bad things are going to happen. This is a great feature and I'm going to dedicate a video just to this feature where we go in, we set the helicopter up, and then we go outside and we do some flying and we see just how well it does work. Again, that's going to be in another video. Alright, now that that's done, we'll go in here and this is going to be your governor setup. Now guys, if you're not running a governor, don't even worry about this menu. If you are running a governor, I'm going to do a video specifically on the governor once I get a pickup that actually works. A pickup truck, a little pickup sensor for my Nitro 600. I will be doing a video on the governor, I promise. So go ahead and skip that one. Now we need to select our size. Remember, I had this on a 600 Nitro, but now we have it on a 450. So click 450, make sure that yellow rings around it. Now we get into the flight mode settings. Now if you remember, I'm on position 2 right now. What I'm going to do, I've got it on this switch right here. I'm going to flip it up and then that's going to change to position 1. Then I'll flip it all the way down and it'll go to position 3. So I flip it up, there's position 1. Flip it all the way down and it goes over to setup 3. I know I said position before, I meant setup. What we can do in here is we can try different things. Let's say on setup 1, we want a beginner setting. Setup 2, we want sport. Setup 3, we want 3D. That's exactly how you set it. So I'm on 3D now. I'll flip my switch up. Now we're on setup 2 in sport mode. Flip it up. Now we're in beginner mode. This is going to be a very, very stable, lot of stick movement type of setup. If you want one to use auto level, you can right there. Alright, now to stress the importance about that auto level, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold this helicopter right here. I've got auto level on position 2 or setup 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip that switch. Watch that swash. That sucker tilted back into the left. Basically, right there, the swash is now level, and the helicopter is not level. So that's the orientation that it's going to stay in, and it's going to keep going and going until it hits something. Guys, that auto level, you have to be careful. You have to make sure it is perfectly set up. I mean perfect. All right, now that we're done with that one, that's it. All we have to do is check our gyro directions by doing just what it says here. As you can see, that swash tries to stay level no matter what. So what we're going to do is just what we did before. We're going to sit here and tilt the helicopter and make sure that swash plate's trying to stay level. It's correcting any movement that the helicopter is doing. Then we need to go into the tail and we need to make sure that it's pointing in the direction that it's moving. The trailing edge is pointing in the direction that the helicopter is moving. And guys, with that, the setup of this helicopter is complete. That is all there is to setting this helicopter up. So how easy was that? You go in, there's 10 setup menus in here if you're not using the governor. It takes about 10 minutes to go in and program this gyro. It is simple, very simple, guys. If the wind wasn't blowing 100 miles an hour outside, we'd be going outside and putting a flight in on this. I can assure you it is going to be perfect and uneventful. And this wind, not so perfect, very eventful. Yeah. So I'm going to have to wait until next weekend to get a flight in on this. Hopefully the wind will be down, kind of like it was last weekend. This weekend hasn't been good. Yesterday rained all day. Today is nothing but wind after the storm. So guys, I hope this helps you out. Again, just like every other video I've shot here lately, there's a link in the description down here. It's the very first link up there. Click on it and it'll take you over to the forum. That way you can post all your questions, comments, and suggestions on the forum and let me know what you want to see. Let me know what you think about the video. Let me know about your setup. You know, if you went in and did something a little bit different than I did, let me know what you did. You know, I'm always welcoming feedback. So I hope this helps everyone out. I look forward to seeing all y'all on the forum, and we'll see you guys in the next video.